It's an absolute joke.
It's an absolute disgrace. It's an utter disgrace.
Right, it's your Geordie Journos back at Newcastle United's Media Centre now. We're currently underneath a see-through dugout. Here at Whitley Park, where the reserves play as well. The pitch is just out the back of the training centre. But yeah, we've been speaking to Eddie Howe ahead of that Nottingham Forest game, and he answered the big question today: Oasis or Blur? That was a big question that emerged from today's press conference. Obviously, I'm joking, but that is the...
It was a theme, by the way.
It was.
It was big news this morning, obviously.
Huge news.
Yeah, in the cultural sort of paradigm of the world, really, of music. And yeah, so that was obviously a talking point. But yeah, football, transfers, that's what matters.
I don't know. I really want to get a ticket for Oasis. Eddie Howe does as well. Eddie Howe's
his wife, yes.
I think he's more of a Blur fan, but I think he goes against the popularity or the popular view if he
said he was Blur at the time, but Oasis have stood the test of time a bit better.
Which not wrong.
Fair enough.
But it's Oasis on both sides for me.
Is it? Okay.
It is.
Yes. No, I'm being stupid to even suggest. Blur are very good though.
We're just trying to disagree with each other all the time.
Yeah.
So.
No. Oasis are class. But yes, you're here for Newcastle United and transfers. None of that music crap. Or not crap. But yeah. So Eddie Howe transfers. Some interesting responses, I thought. The big one, which I think we should get on to, there was obviously Mark Gahey asked...
refused to comment.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to comment on individuals,
But that deal, if there's going to be a deal done this week, all signs are pointing to that one getting done. Eddie Howe hopeful, not confident of transfers, but I thought the big one, which was a follow-up to an earlier question in the press conference where Eddie Howe said he wouldn't comment on particular positions, but then he was asked, do you think you'll be able to sign both a defender and a right-winger? And Eddie Howe basically said, he said, probably not, no, which I think is... sort of sums up the transfer window, doesn't it?
It's Mark Gahey or bust, isn't it?
That's the answer you can glean from that, yeah.
And, yeah, I spoke to someone close to Crystal Palace this morning, and he's getting the same noises. That agreement with Newcastle is close. It sounds like it's heading that way, but I would caveat the fact that that's been suggested several times over the last 3 weeks or so. This long, drawn-out saga. Now I'll credit Luke Edwards here for comparing it to the takeover on the word imminent, where this is probably the longest saga we've had since a takeover. In terms of is Mark Gahey going to sign, and
it probably finally is imminent though, one way or the other, because the deadline's on Friday. Crystal Palace play tonight, so will Newcastle want a cup-tied Mark Gahey if they end up trying to go far in the Carabao Cup, which they have done in the past 2 seasons under Eddie Howe?
Yeah, that could be telling tonight whether or not he's in the squad. Crystal Palace play Norwich at Selhurst Park. But what I would say as well is Crystal Palace could choose to rest players, so it could be that. But if he's left out the squad entirely, maybe there's something in that. But I wouldn't be 100% Mark Gahey is definitely coming to Newcastle United if he is left out the squad, because he could look at Palace's team tonight and it could be 11 changes or whatever. So it's one to keep an eye on, obviously. But as I said there, it feels like from who I spoke to this morning, that it feels like it is getting close. But I don't want to sit here and get fans' hopes up, because as I say, we've heard that many times. But if it's going to be a player that signs this week, I think it'll be Mark Gahey. And I think another interesting thing that Eddie Howe said in there was they would, well, not quite happily, but they would rather sign the right players at the right price, and if they don't get the right player, they would rather just not sign anyone. Which, look,
fair enough, but then do you argue, is Mark Gahey coming at the right price? Because the latest sort of fees is 65-70 million, which is extortionate. I mean, it's the modern transfer market, English premium. He's still got probably 10 years at a high level, Mark Gahey, if he keeps up the sort of trajectory of his career so far. So yeah, does he deem that value? He's only as valuable as Crystal Palace make him and what Newcastle are willing to pay. So yeah, but it's a lot of money, as we've said, and I think the Mark Gahey Saar guys is growing tired now, really, as we've said previously.
It is, yeah. I mean, the price that's being quoted now is already too much. It is too much, but Newcastle have been backed into a corner in many ways. I left it at the final week of the transfer window. Contrary to belief, I think Newcastle have to go and sign a player this week. A big signing, a statement signing, whatever you want to call it, a player that comes into start 11. And from what we're hearing is Marquis is at this present the number one target. They're still pursuing a deal for him, so if there's going to be someone that comes in, I think it'll be him. I would be really disappointed if Newcastle couldn't get Marquis and just went, well, we couldn't get the number one target. Actually, we're just going to save the money and we'll go again in January, if indeed it works like that. But I think for the feeling around the football club, we briefly touched upon it on Saturday. I think it's a big week, that Nottingham Forest game. I don't think we should downplay. It is a huge game because Newcastle, if you look at on paper competitions that they can win, the Carabao Cup feels the most. I'm going to jinx it here because I've never said this, but it feels the most winnable. And they've proved that.
Well, they've come close to it.
Yeah, they got to a final, and then they should have got to a semi-final last year. Of course, we all know what happened at Stamford Bridge in the last minute, and then the penalty shootout defeat. So that Nottingham Forest game is huge. It's the most winnable competition for me, and then the transfer as well. For the feeling around the football club, the changes behind the scenes this summer, just everything coming together. I think a lot of people would feel a lot better if they were to get a transfer over the line, and if they don't do that, and I agree with Alan Shearer's comments yesterday. I thought they were quite scathing, and actually he said it would be a really bad look for Paul Mitchell and Darren Hughes if they weren't to get a signing in. He said it would be embarrassing. I actually agree with that, but as I say, I do think they will get the deal over the line, but I don't want to say that with total confidence because people have gone with that line before and been burned. So I'm saying I believe, I hope it will happen, but I'm not going to sit here and go absolute confidence it will, because things can't change.
Something has to happen though, because I mean, Eddie Howe was asked, is the transfer window still got a chance of being a success? I think even if they were to go and sign Mark Gahey, I'd go, well, time will tell if it'll be a success, but it's still been underwhelming on the whole. You've got Paul Mitchell in. We did a video at the start of the summer. This is Newcastle's big signing in the summer almost. This will kickstart. They've survived PSR, that scare, potential points deduction. They've got money to spend, which Darren Neal said. And then Liam did a video as well with Kieran Maguire about how Newcastle did have money to spend and do have money to spend, which is evidence in the fact that they're in talks for such high sums, a club record deal for Mark Gahey. So, yeah, if they weren't to do anything, it would be you can't say a failure because proof will be in the results and where it comes, but it would be the most underwhelming transfer window, really, given the expectation. In the past two transfer windows as well, if you look back to January, where nothing happened, basically. No disrespect to Alfie Howson, of course, but yeah, it's been really quite underwhelming for a while now on the transfer front. So, and that's no disrespect as well to Lloyd Kelly, but it's a free transfer. So yeah, something needs to happen, and I'm worried by Eddie Howe saying, as I mean, we've said for a few weeks now, it doesn't look like a right winger's coming in, but it's worrying, concerning that Eddie Howe has now actually said probably not, publicly no, which he doesn't usually give a lot away on transfers. A wait and see would have given me a bit more confidence. The fact probably not no, and it looks like Newcastle putting all the eggs in that centre-back basket is a concern heading into the final 3 days of the window.
Yeah, it's a massive concern because, as we've said several times, the right forward position is equally a priority, if not a bigger priority, because it's just that one position where they do lack real quality, where the centre half, if we got Fabian Schär, that's fit, Dan Burn, Sven Botman, obviously I know he won't be back for a while, but you've got quality players in that position where they can get by, whereas at the right forward position, I mean, they've got by for a lot of years, because Jacob Murphy and Almiron have been at this club. Well, Jacob Murphy's a Rafa signing, Almiron was a Rafa signing as well. They've been here since the Rafa Benitez era, and they're still carrying Newcastle United's right hand side. And both players have got obvious flaws. I like them both. I think they've done great things done good things for the club in terms of obviously helping them get Champions League, etc. Jacob Murphy's great at coming in and filling in every so often for a run of games. Almiron, as we know, has flaws, but has moments of quality. We had that purple patch during the season when they did finish Champions League, but we've never really seen that consistency from them too. So it's just a position that they lack real quality, whereas at centre half, although they're light there, they do have quality. So they've weighed it up. They've decided, as I say, they're going to put their eggs in one basket by the sounds of it for Mark Gee, and that's the club's decision. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think they should have maybe, if it's easy as splitting the money and going right winger, centre half, that's how I would have done, but they've got all the cash together and go where we want. Mark Gee or indeed a centre half, so that's there.
Yeah. It's also a wages situation as well. If you're getting two players in, it's going to cost a bit more money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think a right wing was the priority at the start of the summer and is the priority now, but it's not Newcastle's priority.
Maybe Eddie's lying though. That's not out the terms of possibility.
I mean, he's got full.
Yeah.
and that's no disrespect to Eddie Howe, but yeah, injuries, he's definitely got form. And he'll say, oh, nothing's close when Harvey Barnes is physically in the building, in the dressing room, getting ready for training.
I remember there was a story of Bournemouth. I think it was someone told us about this. So he was at Bournemouth at the time, and there was a new signing upstairs doing his medical, and he got asked if this player was signing, and he said, "Oh no, there's no update on that." And the reporter went back, "I've just seen him in the corridor." It's like. So look,
that was checked actually after the press conference. Is Mark Gahey upstairs doing club interviews? He's not.
Apparently he's not.
Apparently he's not. And we haven't seen him. We've had a little look.
I just think that there's got to be something that gives on that deal. It's got to be decided. You either get a definitive answer for the next 24 hours, because if not, they need to go and find someone else. And
I'd rather, if they fail to land this Mark Gahey deal, they go all in for a right winger rather than go, oh, we need another centre back. Even though you're looking and it's like, right, Emil Kraft started right centre back at Bournemouth, will likely continue that while Fabian Schär serves his suspension. Doesn't need addressed. Yes, in a lot of ways it does, but Fabian Schär will be back in 2 games' time, so you're an injury away from disaster, but I think at the moment, at the right wing, you need a player to improve the starting line. I suppose a case could be made with the side, or the team, the front three, that it didn't quite finish the game, but was the front three for Newcastle's most effective period at Bournemouth, which was Harvey Barnes on the left, Anthony Gordon on the right, Alexander Isak through the middle, which is quality in some respect in all three areas, I suppose, even though Anthony Gordon would probably prefer to be out on the left. He is still capable of delivering on the right, as he's shown with his goal.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's Eddie Howe's way of thinking, where
even though he played it down on. He
did play it down, but maybe that's his way of thinking, where okay, we can't get a right forward this window, but we can move players around in that front line to make it strong.
We've got versatility, haven't we?
And maybe that is one way of getting around it. But Anthony Gordon was player of the season last year through playing the most of it on the left hand side. So then to move him around just to fill a void, whilst they could have went and signed a right forward this month, or this window. Sorry, I think so. I mean, it's Eddie Howe and the club's way of doing things. If that's what they want to do, that's up to them. But we don't necessarily have to agree with that. We've spoke several times on here about a right forward, and yeah, based off Eddie Howe's comments today, doesn't sound like that's going to be the case if they go and get this centre back signing over the line.
Yep, let's hope. Let's hope by our next video down at Forest that something's happened.
I think it's got to. I mean, the window closed on Friday, so there's not really that much time left. Where it needs to be decided soon, and it needs to be decided right now, because
maybe
if not,
it has.
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, this video could go up because what time is it now? Quarter to 11. So look, maybe it changes while the tennis video goes up. I guess not, because I'm going to try and get it up as soon as possible.
That's commitment.
So
you've timestamped it now, so you'll know how soon as possible Jordan's got it up. Internet here is a bit unreliable, so we'll
go back to the Cronin family patch and use the Wi-Fi.
Pressure's on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on. We'll address Nottingham Forest and Sandro Tonali's big return later. But the question I asked, because we got information earlier in the week that there was potential Premier League interest in a Newcastle striker called Callum Wilson. You might have heard of him. He hasn't been around for a while. So I just asked Eddie Howe, what's the latest? And Eddie Howe, obviously, with Callum Wilson missing the first 2 games, spoke about his injury rehabilitation. He's been out with a back injury for over a month now. When will he be back? Well, Eddie Howe initially said he'll miss the opening couple of games of the season. He'll be back by the end of August, early September. But now, what Eddie Howe said, definitely won't be back until after the international break, which is the least surprising news ever, because Callum Wilson, whenever Eddie Howe commits to a return date, you probably almost can consistently add 2 more games onto that return date, and that's when Callum Wilson will actually be back. So, he'll miss Nottingham Forest and will miss Spurs, which was initially the
Wolves
sort of penciled-in date.
Is Tottenham the last?
And then there's a break, and Wolves is on the 15th,
right? Okay.
I think.
I should know this, but I didn't. But so also Tottenham's the last one before the break.
Maybe, I think so.
Oh, fair enough. That's disappointing. The season just started and we have an international break already.
Yeah. Enjoy your time off.
I mean it's very little surprise with Callum Wilson and sort of Eddie Howe's track record of giving updates on Callum Wilson. You're right. If Callum Wilson gives you a return date, you at least add 2 games or 2 weeks on top of on what he said. But
does it rule out a potential transfer for Callum Wilson, or could it still happen?
I mean, it's up to the club that wants to. You can have Callum Wilson, but
they need someone in. They can't.
Well, Sula setting in.
That was your question.
I know. Honestly, with these microphones now, there's too much scrutiny. There's too much scrutiny and too much pressure
proper
on
questions.
Yeah, there was proper questions asked by other people. Dom Shaw question of the day for me. Can you sign a right winger and a centre back this week? No, probably
just
not.
Give him a yes or no answer. Put him under the cosh, if you like.
And then I enjoyed Craig Hope's follow up to Luke Edwards' question of Oasis or Blur, and Craig Hope said right forward or centre back.
And then he gave no answer.
And then he refused. Out respect for the current squad members that he's got, which
to be fair, I asked Eddie Howe more or less the same question in Japan, and he gave the same answer, where it's like, I have to respect the current players we have in those positions.
He is the manager of the football club. He can't be coming out.
Yeah. God, we absolutely need to strengthen. Our right wing's not good enough.
But he has, in recent weeks anyway, sort of been pushed into saying that he wants a right forward. And did he admit at one point that he admitted something on the right forward situation? I can't remember word for word, but he did pretty much say that they wanted one. And then the centre back position, he's admitted the light there. And of course, the Marquis situation is, although Eddie Howe won't talk about it publicly, is all out in the open in terms of the Steve Parish and then the Crystal Palace end as well.
2 out in the open. You've got Oliver Glasner going, it's too much noise.
Yeah.
We've lost our first 2 games, there's too much noise, and that noise isn't going anywhere for now.
But Newcastle will have a new signing. like a new signing at Nottingham Forest on Wednesday. Sandro Tonali. I can't believe we've got through 18 minutes of this press conference video and haven't spoke about Sandro Tonali.
Speaking of reunions, Sandro Tonali and Newcastle United on a football pitch.
Elliot Anderson as well.
That's the big reunion.
Yeah. That's a story tomorrow. Will it be Sandro Tonali, late winner?
Tonali v Anderson?
Or Elliot Anderson? We should have asked him that. Anderson or Tonali?
That's horrible.
No, it is.
He did address Elliot Anderson as well and said how upset or how unfortunate and frustrated.
He said he watched the game against Southampton. Anderson, he said, played really well in midfield. Said it was tinged with sadness that they've lost a great player and person. But there'll be a lot of. I mean, Eddie Howe will be happy tomorrow when he gets Sandro Tonali back on that pitch. I asked him if he would start. Obviously, he didn't tell us. So
he's ready to start though.
He did say he's ready to start, but I think if you want Sandro Tonali to get back up to speed as soon as possible, you probably have to.
It's a big game on Sunday as well against Spurs, where you go, right, do you start him? You want him ready. I think that's a massive game to throw him into, whereas the City Ground, as we know, it's a big game, but the Carabao Cup does have a different sort of feel to it than the Premier League, whether you like it or not. And that's the chance. Eddie Howe said he would make changes as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing he did say from the Bournemouth game. He'll make changes. So that's a decision he'll have to make. But I think it lends itself. If Sandro Tonali's going to start one game, if not both, I think the Forest game is potentially the more likely.
Yeah, I think so as well. Just the feel around the Carabao Cup, or the view around the Carabao Cup, is that teams make changes. And look, I don't have any intel on what Nottingham Forest are going to do tomorrow, but I guess they'd make changes as well. And then if they're not at the strongest, then it probably does make sense to bring Tonali in. And I think if you want to get him back up to speed as quickly as possible, you're going to have to throw him in for, say, an hour. And the only way you can do that is you start him. So if it was up to me, I would start Tonali tomorrow. Eddie Howe clearly thinks, as he said, he thinks he's fit, so there would be no qualms about putting Tonali in. Of course, you would have that, not a worry, but he hasn't kicked the ball for 10 months, and being fit in training and training with your teammates is very different to actually playing a game of football, a competitive game of football. So there's all that to bear in mind. But from the outside looking in, and based on what I've heard from Eddie Howe and others who have spoke about Sandro Tonali, he sounds ready. So I'd put him in personally at the City Ground on Wednesday.
Yeah, I would too. He'll be chomping at the bit. He has been for the past 10 months, really, as he's served his ban. He's obviously played in behind closed doors training ground games, so he's had 11v11 practice, but as Eddie Howe said previously, 11v11 on the training ground and actually playing a competitive game of football is very, very different, and I think it'll help him to have that as soon as possible, really. So I'm looking forward to seeing him tomorrow night at the City Ground. We'll be there, and hopefully we'll see more of him than less of him, because it's been a while.
Yeah, it'll give everyone a big boost, won't it? Seeing his name back on there.
Hopefully he has a good game as well, because he's got a point to prove in terms of he served a long ban, but he's also got a point to prove, because I think when he got the ban, the jury was still very much out whether he was a good signing for the club. Really.
It's just how many games does it take to get back up to speed? I think that whether that's right or wrong, I think the pressure's on for him probably to hit the ground running as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because there was some people don't want to admit it maybe, but there was question marks over Tonali before he got banned. I think it was a West Ham game away that really stood out for me, when I thought he really struggled in that game and looked like a player that just needed time to adapt.
Yeah.
And of course, he's in the 10 months that he's had out, I think he's obviously tried his hardest to adapt in terms of learning the language, continuing to train. Eddie Howe and everyone you speak to have said he's been strong on the training pitch as well, and has put in the work. So hopefully that all leads to him being ready, because I think he needs to be as soon as possible.
Yeah, and one player who we don't know if they're going to be ready. I know you don't know where I'm going with this. Former Nottingham Forest goalkeeper Odysseus Vlachodimos. Eddie Howe was asked about the goalkeeper situation. We touched on it on Sunday after the Bournemouth game, where Eddie Howe named John Ruddy on the bench. Max Thompson travelled. Martin Dubravka supposedly out with a concussion. Vlachodimos nowhere to be seen. And now there's noises that, Eddie Howe said there's a possibility, no guarantee, but a possibility there could be movement in the goalkeeper area. James Trafford also comes back into the equation potentially.
When I talk about statement signs this week, I don't want a third goalkeeper.
Honestly, that would be. I think fans would not be happy.
I was sort of in favour of the James Trafford deal when it first came about.
Back in June.
But now, I think I've gone off the idea. Maybe I think
we're at the end of our tether in terms of
the goalkeepers
actually strengthen the starting 11, or try to at least.
Can you imagine if they made? I'm going to say 4 summer sides. I'm not including Lewis Hall. They made 4 summer sides, added
additions.
A 5th, and 3 of them are goalkeepers.
And not first choice goalkeepers.
I get too irate about this goalkeeping situation.
No, I think you're well within your right when people will go, Newcastle made 4 signings. We'll say, if a player comes in this week, they'll go, it's Newcastle's 5th or 6th summer signing. But is it really? No. In terms of what you envisage will be a signing. If you were told at the start of the window, oh, Newcastle make 4 or 5 summer signings, you go, fine. How many actually improve the starting 11? Maybe Lloyd Kelly, maybe Mark Gay if he comes in. Well, Mark Gay would if he came in. But so that's where it becomes underwhelming. And this obsession with goalkeepers is interesting.
Because then you would see, because if the James Trafford deal is to happen, they would have to sell. Or not sell, someone would have to leave. So that puts Dubravka in the spotlight because his future has been uncertain all summer. And then it puts, and I didn't think I'd ever say this, given that they just paid money to sign him, but that puts Vlachodimos in the spotlight of potentially being loaned out.
I think both already are, regardless of what happens, because of how many goalkeepers Newcastle have. Newcastle have 5 goalkeepers. Bearing in mind, you could argue it's 6 because Max Thompson.
He travelled. He
travelled to Bournemouth. He was in Japan. He's got senior football. He went to, was it Northampton on loan last season? And by all accounts did a very good job on loan there. Still young. Is he the sort of 4th choice goalkeeper where you go in an absolute emergency, he could play football, or he'll do a job on the training ground at the very least if he doesn't go out on loan? So there could be movement with him. But you've got Dubravka and Vlachodimos as well. One of those 3 players absolutely has to leave this week. Absolutely, maybe more, maybe all 3.
Well, I mean, they can't carry 5 goalkeepers, but I think there's a possibility they might, and I think it's scandalous. Sorry, not scandalous.
It's not 5, it's 6 actually, at this point.
Honestly, when I seen the James Trafford links come up yesterday, honestly, I had head loss. It was like this goalkeeping situation. I'm just fed up of it. It doesn't make sense. It's, I don't. Honestly, I'm making this goalkeeping thing my thing.
Yeah,
it's just
that the hill you'll die on.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
No, I think it's fair, because this goalkeeper situation doesn't become such a frustration if Newcastle make actual outfield signings.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're probably not talking about this. You're right.
That's the thing. Newcastle, you go, oh well, they're well stacked in the goalkeeper. There'll be movement there. That only becomes frustration when it seems the club are putting effort into signing goalkeepers, but then they're not making progress in terms of outfield signings, which is what they need.
I'm taking out my transfer frustration on the goalkeepers.
Sorry,
guys.
What a servant to the club, and he doesn't deserve it.
Sorry, guys. No, nothing against these goalkeepers personally. I'm just really frustrated about the lack of transfer activity in Newcastle United in terms of strengthening the start 11, and they've signed 2 goalkeepers. Yeah, sorry.
Aren't all of them? I'd have to fact check this, but all of their contracts, John Ruddy you can include in that, expire within the next season or so.
Yeah, could do.
Within the next 2, definitely, but I'm sure a lot of them.
Does Nick Porter contract next year?
I think the season after.
Yeah, he signed a 4-year deal.
Well,
they don't disclose.
Never gets disclosed.
Yeah, they don't disclose contracts anymore.
No, but I think they did with. Did they not with John Ruddy and
They did with John Ruddy,
where it's 1 year?
But when they seem to pay.
Maybe they didn't.
No, they didn't for Vlachodimos.
John Ruddy they did. So
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, Newcastle, I don't know if it's just Newcastle. It might just be a general football club thing now, where when they sign players, they just say long-term deal. Now, how many years?
Which can be anything.
Like, there's even a bit like confusion around, going a bit off topic, Anthony Gordon's contract, where there seems to be understanding that Anthony Gordon signed a 3.5 year deal.
Which was described as a long-term contract.
Look, I might be wrong here. I don't know Anthony Gordon's contract. I'd be shocked if he was on. That's paid £45 million and then put on a 3-year contract
for a 21-year-old, as he was at the time.
I'd be absolutely shocked if that was the case. But we don't know. You could ask the question, but I don't think the club want to tell you either.
The club will give nothing away on transfers. We've asked on the record, off the record. Transfers are contracts. Are sacred,
which is fair enough in many ways actually, but it's because you've been given the contract limits for how many years in football?
Yeah.
Since transfers, it was always public knowledge. Now it's starting to get more private, and I do understand to some extent because it's someone's fault. It's their contract of employment. Yeah. It's sacred.
I don't know how long your contract is.
Either do
lifetime deal.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Lifetime deal to Geordie Jones.
We need to re-sign Liam Kennedy on a free transfer.
He'll be back. He'll be back soon
from Northern Africa.
Yeah. We haven't got him on a video yet. I haven't asked him to send a clip in.
Nah, he's too busy. I was going to say slamming Darren Eales, but I can't say that. Check that article out on Newcastle World.
It's a good
opinion.
Was
the talk of the press conference before we kicked off. Actually.
It was. I haven't told him this. Maybe I'll just let him find out. See if he watches these videos, and we'll find out that his Darren Eales comment piece was the target, as you say, on a couple of people's.
Yeah, but again, that comes from transfer frustration. Darren Eales has been.
Shearer said it, so why can't Liam Kennedy?
Exactly. Darren Eales has been excellent to deal with, but actions always speak louder than words, and a lack of transfer action means he becomes someone you aim your frustrations at. And
absolutely.
That's ultimately what's happened.
And it brings him on the. I keep using this term. Brings him on the spotlight.
When he puts himself in the spotlight.
Yeah. So if he
brings the pressure.
I think he's great in terms of being down to earth.
He's great to speak to.
Bonding with the fans. Always has time for the press. I really like him, but that sort of soft side comes under scrutiny when there's frustrations with transfers, which is what happened this week. So
he's in charge. He's the figurehead of the club, really. Now Staveley and Gudusi have left, so yeah, it's on him really.
It's on him deliver. And Paul Mitchell. Paul Mitchell's the only thing I'd say about the Paul. I'm trying to reason with Paul Mitchell, because he's only just came to the club. It's a big job. And coming in the middle of a transfer window or the start of a transfer window, it can be a difficult ask, and I do think his impact will be felt more over the coming years rather than immediately. But I just think for the current sort of feel and view of the football club and the change of hierarchy, the change behind the scenes, they need some action this week just to calm everyone down and get the good feeling back. I don't think there's necessarily a negative feel around the club. I just think we're all waiting for something.
It just feels like 2 games into the season, it's sort of teetering, where it's like this week you feel like maybe not quite the success of the season hinges on it, but it certainly feels like such an important week where if you get through in the cup, if you sign a few players, positivity heading into Spurs and after the end of the transfer window. If you don't sign anyone, or if you sign a goalkeeper or any sort of underwhelming end to the transfer window and you get knocked out the Carabao Cup, it's panic stations and we're only a few weeks into the season.
The transfers were spoke about large. The Carabao Cup game is massive. It really is massive. You imagine the deflation that would be felt if they went out the second round of the competition. I think it's probably because of how they performed in recent years. There's almost that expectation that they will do well in this competition. And tomorrow is a very, very tough game. It's I think they've got the hardest draw in the northern section and the furthest of the furthest south of the teams in the northern section as well. So it's it goes in line with the cup draws that they've had. They're always away from home. They always tend to get a Premier League team, but they've got to find a way to get through tomorrow. I still make them favourites because I think Newcastle have got a better squad than Nottingham Forest, obviously. So if both teams make change, I think Newcastle will be stronger. But it's a tricky game because Forest had a good start this season as well.
Yeah.
A draw and a win, same as Newcastle. So maybe they fancy the chances. Maybe this year they feel that they've managed to stabilise in the Premier League and they feel they have a cup run. I think it's a very interesting game. I just hope Newcastle comes out on top.
Yeah, and the Carabao Cup draws in general are very frustrating. Going on another tangent here,
I know.
Newcastle, you're in Europe last season, great. You get a bye to the third round. Now, they're not in Europe. All of a sudden, the bye to the third round for the European teams. Oh yeah, you get that, but you get to avoid each other. That's fine.
It's an absolute...
Bearing in mind, Newcastle last season with the bye got Man City, Manchester United, and then Chelsea weren't in Europe, but then Chelsea.
It's an absolute joke.
It's an absolute disgrace. It's an utter disgrace.
It's how, yeah. What round is it after? Does it go quarter? No, I'm trying to think of the rounds here. So that
it's the second round tomorrow night. Then it's the third round, fourth round, quarter final.
Yeah. So you're almost guaranteeing, because the best Newcastle last year they were in Europe and they played 2 teams that were also in Europe. Right. Yeah. And then this year it's like, you've got 7 teams in Europe, whatever it is. You don't have to play each other. You can play everyone else, and then if you play games of football on paper, it probably guarantees at least 5 to 7 in the next round.
That's the problem. Like the Carabao Cup is a chance for clubs to progress and get far from the lower divisions, or clubs like Newcastle a couple of seasons ago to go on a cup run while being competitive in the Premier League. Now, by sort of making sure these teams avoid each other, it just means it's a lot more likely that the latter stage of the competition, which was likely anyway, is going to be stacked with these teams. Which, to be fair, Newcastle are one of the seventh best team in England, statistically speaking, in terms of that's where they came last season.
Do you think this is a fight back from the AFL? Because the Carabao Cup, in many ways, has become everyone's least priority. And for a team like Newcastle, it's become probably the most priority because they're so desperate to win a trophy. They're an ambitious club hoping to be on the up. They want to win a trophy and they probably target that one. And you target the Carabao Cup as one that's winnable because you've got all these teams, the top teams that field essentially second string 11. So this is probably the AFL fighting back and trying to get some actual interest and actual priority back in the Carabao Cup. But I just think that rule is shocking. It really is. It's just look at you talk about looking after the big clubs. That's essentially what it's doing. So Newcastle need to get Newcastle are back in Europe next year. I'm not complaining, but
Newcastle were a Man U FA Cup win from us going, well, that's good. Yeah. But we'd still probably concur that the rule itself is.
I think it stinks. It stinks. It's an absolute joke.
Takes away the sanctity of a cup draw, doesn't it? The pureness of it.
Seeded in a cup draw.
Well, I mean, that's fairly common, I suppose.
Well, I know. I mean, you get I mean, all the Premier League and Championship teams get seeded for the third round of the FA Cup, but I just don't like it. Because it's been changed. The FA Cup has historically been that way, so I can get by that. This has been a change made this season. It only benefits 7 teams, and it's just 7 teams out in Europe, which isn't. Look, whether Newcastle in that bracket or not, it isn't fair.
No,
it isn't fair at all. So. No.
And we're making this complaint before Newcastle beat Forest, hopefully, and get drawn away.
Well, that's what's going to happen.
Which is more likely.
That's what's going to happen, though. Yeah. That's the point I didn't make. So that'll be.
So we're making it now. We're not complaining after the event. We're complaining before the event.
Yeah, that's exactly what will happen. Yeah, they'll get past Nottingham Forest, touch wood, and they'll get Man City away. It's an absolute guarantee.
Or Arsenal.
Or Aston Villa away,
a team that never winner.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Villa away. I mean.
I still wouldn't want to.
No, you wouldn't. It's a really tough game.
They're due a home draw anyway, but I would take them teams at probably any of them teams at home, but still not the point. Not the point.
Well said. Do you want to wrap up there?
Yeah, we've been everywhere with this video, from transfers to Callum Wilson to Tonali to Carabao Cup frustrations to Willisula, who's settling in well.
We could make his debut tomorrow.
Yeah, he's off players, doesn't he?
Well, he does, but he might get on.
He should. He's settling in well. Right, shall we wrap it up there?
Yes.
Do you want to do the T's and C's?
Well, yes, of course. Every long form Geordie Journo's video is brought to you by 4 Rivers Financial Planning for all of your holistic financial and pension needs. So, logo up there, and the link to them will be in the description, so get in touch with them if you need any financial advice or pension advice.
Yeah, and if you like this rant, it's been a bit of a rant at the end.
It's been a ramble.
Goalkeeping and Carabao Cup rant, sprinkled with a bit of transfers and
a bit of waffle.
Striker talk and it's waffle, which is probably the right term. If you like all that, then please subscribe, like, comment as you always do. A lot of you guys always in the comments. Apologies we couldn't reply to many.
Drive back from Bournemouth, and then we came back and went, people don't agree with this handball. I mean, having seen the replays, it's definitely definitely handball.
It is.
It's just
by the letter of the law, it's handball. And we said that in the video at the end. It is essentially handball, but it's harsh. So.
Don't you'll have people in the comments. What are you doing, man?
But there was a lot of comments after the game on Sunday, but we didn't have time to reply to them because we had a long drive back, and then of course it was a bank holiday, so we enjoyed some. I'm guessing you enjoyed some downtime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, enjoyed some downtime before. It's a busy week. There's a busy week. Press conference we've had today.
We're not complaining though.
Forest tomorrow.
Unless Newcastle don't make a sign, we're not complaining.
Travel back Thursday. Deadline day Friday, which we'll see. They could be busy. And then we'll have a little break Saturday and then back into it on Sunday against Tottenham. So, yeah, busy week. But please subscribe, like, comment.
Thanks.
Ring the bell. You know the thanks button. Law. Thanks button
law.
law.
It's not a law.
It's not a law. You know the thanks button. Button. If you like it. If you press the button.
If you like it.
If you want to press the button and donate a few coppers.
That's more than that. There was a couple recently.
There was a £10 donation at the weekend, Dom, which
I'll try.
Please
try and get.
I'll reply to it, so it might not be an immediate site.
Okay.
But that was hugely appreciated. £10. I'm gonna hope Dom does it in time so I can get the name.
I don't think you're gonna be able to.
There was a £2 donation as well.
It was from. Oof. Okay, say that.
I'll read sausage.
And Mark Weir, of course, long-term fan of the channel.
So
an OG, isn't he, Mark Weir? Very early on.
He is an OG.
OG Mark Weir, thank you very much.
And all his comments, and we 9 times out of 10 always reply, but as I say, it was a bit of a busy weekend, so it didn't get.
Here's your shout out, Mark. Thank you.
Yes, and I'll read sausage as well, which is an excellent donation. So. Well, every time we try and wrap these videos, it always takes about 5 minutes.
I know, I was like, we might struggle for half an hour here. No, 40.
So, yeah, done all the T's and C's. Check out our sponsor as well, or whatever's. And we'll next see you at the City Ground, where hopefully we'll see Newcastle United progress into the next round of the Carabao Cup. And it'll be a good game for Sandro Tonali.